Rieger getting traded to Minnesota changes nothing.
6'4" guys running 4.4s. These guys don't grow on trees. And a lot of times I'm willing to bet on, especially long term, on the freak athlete.
You don't ever want to overreact to what guys look like in preseason. There's been a ton of preseason all-stars that never make rosters or never pan out.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Week 1, we made it. We're finally here. Belly Up Fantasy Live with the crew, as always. We're here to break down all of your Sunday games. We might even, if we have time, touch on the Monday game. We'll see. But we're going to break down some of our favorite fantasy targets for this week's game. And I think I can speak for all of us that we're just excited that a full day of NFL football is finally here. So without further ado, let's go around the horn quickly. Kevin Wilson, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, Andrew. And if last week was Christmas morning because we are doing our drafts, today is Thanksgiving. And so, you got to be excited. Week 1, NFL action, and we're here to bring it to you. So I'm jazzed up.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm jazzed up too. The what's it called? The holidays, they're in reverse order, but I like the analogy.
That's right. So.
And Chase, as always, joining us from the bar. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of Chase from the bar on a weekly basis here. So, Chase, how are you this morning? Is it too early for a drink?
Oh no, because it's the best day of the year. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. No, I've already apologized to my wife and my boys. It's just I'm gonna go come down here and hibernate, from them for the next 4 or 5 months or so. I'm psyched up. I love it. This is one of my this is one of my favorite days of the year. When my wife is a doctor, when she was in her medical residency several years ago by now, but she let me keep the cat while she was down there. We were apart for 3 years. The cat loves me. But the cat did not know what to make of Brandon on her first day of being on opening football weekend with me. She kind of just sat in the corner all day, like, I am not going to come near that guy. She didn't know what to make of the constant screaming and jumping around, and several of these throughout the day. But I am psyched up. I'm waiting for it and ready to talk about it.
When the cat takes notice, is that when you have a football addiction?
Right. She was not coming anywhere near me.
Chase, we better be ready because my cat's sitting right over here. He's excited. So this is a classic day right here.
Well, and then as you can see, we do have a special guest joining us on the screen here today. We'll welcome in Michael Reedy from Mike Reedy FF on Twitter. So, Michael, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Good. And if we're going to compare today to Thanksgiving, I sure hope I feast. In all my life. All I can say, I hope I feast. And Chase, I thought you were I didn't realize that was a basement bar behind you. I was going to ask if you had a restaurant or something like that. Looks like quite the setup, brother.
Yeah. He's been teasing with us, with that for weeks now, and we're still waiting for our invite to come and join him.
Hey, the invite's always open. You just got to make it to Northwest Wisconsin. But like I said, this is thank you to my wife. Because
other than visiting you, there is zero reason to visit Northwest Wisconsin for me. So, but look, let's get into it because the fact of the matter is we got a full slate of games today. And we got a lot of things to cover before we leave you guys for game time. So let's jump right off it. And I swear I'm not doing this on purpose, but it just happens to be the first game at the top of the list here on the schedule. We're gonna start off with the Pats and the Dolphins in division rivalry here. A lot of interesting storylines between the whole debacle of the Patriots coaching staff and what that means for the Patriots offense. Because if they can put it together, there is some fantastic value you could have gotten late in your draft. There's some fantastic value for DFS purposes, but it all comes down to if you can trust the offense is going to look like an NFL offense. And then you get the Dolphins on the other side who are poised. It seems like kind of be high flyers and take a step forward as long as they can follow Tua in that way. So let's start off here. Are you guys confident in a Miami win today and like a Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle explosion in fantasy today? Kevin, we'll start with you.
Okay, so well, as you said, this is Tua. Begins the final exam, and we're going to find out real early on, can he make the passes that'll make this whole thing worthwhile? We don't know if that's the case or not. And I don't know if New England, it might be one of the worst opponents for him to be able to do that, because you got to figure they got a good defense up there in New England. Of course, you guys would know more about that than I would, but we're going to see right off the bat. Can he make the throws? Are they going to play a lot of 3 wide receiver sets? And if so, does that make Mike Gesicki, does he disappear from the fantasy planet? And that's a guy right there that I've not been big on throughout the season, getting ready for this game. And so we're going to see right off the bat what kind of player is he going to be in that offense, because we don't know. We haven't seen him play. They got a new coach and everything else. And so it all comes down to Tua. And I'm not putting all my chips in the basket when it comes. I'm going to have to see. And I'm glad this is not a game that I have a whole lot of fantasy stock in. And maybe you guys do from New England up there. You're like, yay, Patriots and all that stuff. But I don't have a lot of fantasy stock in this, so I'm just going to sit back and see where this whole thing shakes out.
Yeah, I also kept my fantasy stock out of the Patriots for a lot of reasons this year. But I think you made a good point that this is I think for both sides of the football for this game, it definitely is. I need to see a lot of things happen before I can trust anything going forward for both teams here. I do feel more confident about the Dolphins just because of the weapons they have and Hill and Waddle. We'll see how the backfield shapes up. But you mentioned the Patriots defense, and theoretically they could have a good defense, but it's really hard. It's really hard to gauge them because of how bad the offense has looked this preseason. It's hard to know if it's because the defense was good or if because the offense was bad. Now, Mike, as another Patriots fan here, where do you stand on that view?
Andrew, tell me you listen to a lot of sports talk radio in Boston without telling me you listen to a lot of sports talk radio in Boston, where all they are is completely negative. If you remember, they were like this every offseason, even when Brady was here. They suck. Other teams just suck worse. That's all we hear. All we hear is negative, 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 negative. And I can tell by your narrative you're listening to it way too much.
Well,
the
but
defense is going to be good. It's going to be good. It's always good.
Now, their defense, like I said, their defense theoretically could be very good. I'm having a hard time with the secondary, just because of what they've lost. It doesn't feel like they've added much. That's where I'm having a hard time.
Did they lose much with J.C. Jackson? I mean, he's not playing today.
Well, that's true.
He was a system guy, as far as I'm concerned. We've seen lots of people pass out of the Patriots system that look like they're superstars, go get paid, do nothing.
Sure.
And then sometimes they even come back and look great again, right? So the defense is going to be fine. I'm not worried about them. The team's a notoriously slow starting team, though, even when Brady was here. So I kind of like Miami a little bit more today, but I want to see what the Patriots can show me. If I was going to put money in Patriots fantasy stock, I'd put it in the running backs.
Really?
They've wanted to be a running team since Brady was here. Everybody says no. I bet on Harris last season. People told me I was nuts all off season. Harris finished even better than I thought he would. So
if I was gonna pick
Harris
a Patriots,
Stevenson.
If I was gonna pick a Patriots running back, I'd be more confident in Stevenson.
Me too.
Because I subscribe to the narrative that this seems like it seems to be following the Bill Belichick playbook of Harris showed out good for a year. Now he's going to limit his use, and so he doesn't have to pay him next year and let him walk, because he already kind of, to me, showed that in the draft and taking Pierre Strong and taking some backs to kind of backfill the depth. I need to see something different here out of the Patriots before.
If this was any other backfield in the entire league, I'd say, oh yeah, Stevenson seems like the safer bet going forward, but it's just not. We don't have any. Now Stevenson could come out today, light the world on fire, make all of you guys look like Nostradamus, and make me look like an idiot.
He is the better catcher.
But then next week he could have 2 carries and find himself on the goddamn bench for the entire game. Who knows? It's the Patriots offense, and I know that McDaniels is gone, but I do not ever trust a Patriot backfield to do anything that is in any way, shape, or form predictable.
Well,
so
that's why
I agree. I tend to agree about
stuff.
Harris. I'm still higher on Harris than most people are.
Too.
I have a couple of shares of Stevenson. I like him as a speculative ad. And I like him on your roster maybe for later in the season. I don't think he's going to be the immediate fantasy superstar that the industry seems to be trying to drag him towards all offseason.
I have zero stocks of any of the Patriots.
It's like none of us ever watched the Patriots before.
Yeah.
Well, it's a split backfield right now, probably between those two guys.
Yes.
Strong's a rookie. He may or may not play at all.
Period.
All
yes.
Because we've seen that before.
Running backs, yeah, they almost never play.
Mhm.
Stevenson played last season out of necessity only.
Yes.
Right? And remember,
once James White went down.
Well, and remember, they're really only down to what, 4 backs right now? And there's only two guys
they cut Taylor. I keep forgetting they cut Taylor.
There's only 2 guys that they're really looking at playing. Montgomery's hurt, right?
Mhm.
So
Yep.
you're looking at those 2 guys split in the backfield. They're going to play. I would expect to get some decent production out of both of them if they're both playing with splits. I think
Today.
Harris is the better back today. And if you want to talk about Miami, Tyreek Hill's been awesome in the preseason. They also have a first-year head coach and a new offensive coordinator. Everybody wants to pick on the Patriots because they don't have an offensive coordinator. This is going to be a Bill Belichick run team against a first-year head coach. What was his record last season against first-year head coaches? Do any of you guys know?
It's always good. I feel
Perfect. Always.
It's like 1,000-0 or something.
Yeah, he
6-0.
destroys first-time coaches.
All right. So this should be a great game because I think there's going to be a good chess match between the coaching staffs because I actually like what Miami did this offseason. I love what they added to their offense. I think Gesicki is not worth a draft pick in any league, by the way. Since you brought that up, Kevin, he's done. They want him to block. He was running with the 4th teamers.
And he's not even a blocker. He's better on your real life team than he is on your fantasy team.
Yes.
One thing interesting I heard that I was in listening and studying for this week that came up was the idea that everybody's kind of assuming that Tyreek Hill is going to take all the good looks now in Miami and that Waddle is kind of downgraded for that. Here's the thing. First off, Tyreek Hill doesn't necessarily just run as fast as he can downfield and catch bombs from people all day long. That's not been his bread. He catches things underneath and breaks them because no one can catch him.
That's right.
No one can touch him. The second thing about that is he's playing the Patriots today, and what does Bill Belichick do better than maybe anybody else in the league? Take away your number one option. And who's their number one option? It has to be Tyreek Hill because he's one of the top 5-6 guys in the entire league.
That's why I've been playing Waddle in DFS.
So Jalen Waddle could be a really fun play today and not as downgraded as some of us, myself maybe included, probably thought at first glance.
I completely agree with that. Like I was saying, Waddle is someone I've been playing in DFS in my lineups today across multiple lineups. So I do subscribe to that thinking as well. Any last thoughts on the Patriots and the Dolphins before we move on?
Speaking of backfields not to trust for today, at least, do not touch the teal and white. Do not touch them today. If you
that's right.
Don't have
Pay
to.
attention, Commissioner Coop. You don't want anything to do with that Miami
Chase
back.
Edmonds, yeah, right. Chase Edmonds is a decent back. He's a decent fantasy back if he's getting run. But so is Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert is one of the fastest people in the league, not named Tyreek Hill, and can be an absolute star in this kind of a backfield as well. Plus, I mean, keep in mind where everybody comes from, where McDaniels came from, and where Mostert came from. They know each other. And besides that, Myles Gaskin is still there. Myles Gaskin was not just a usable fantasy piece in the last few years, and usable fantasy piece translated to, or came from the idea that he was actually usable on the field as well. They've got a deep backfield. Let's take a step back and see how they use it and who comes out of today healthy before we trust too much of the Miami backfield.
Completely agree. Once again, just another example of why this is a game that I'm watching very closely. One, because I'm a Patriots fan, but two, because these are two situations that we got to see a lot before we really know what's going on for either team. Because I think they are two teams that are going to be in a lot of games going forward, and there can be a lot of fantasy value from certain positions.
It's a stay away game for DFS, unless you want to play a cheap defense. In all honesty,
so honestly,
I stayed away from everything else.
I am playing a lot of the Dolphins defense today in DFS just because the price was too good. So I do agree with that. That is a fantastic point to bring up. But let's get to it. So Kevin, I want to find out, is there a game that you're looking at the most here to target for fantasy value, or just in general? I know you're a Seattle Seahawks fan. I know you're also a transplant Bengals and Broncos fan. But But fandom aside, is there a game that really intrigues you either from a DFS value standpoint or just where there's going to be points upon points that you're going to be able to count on for your redraft leagues?
Well, there's a lot of games that I sifted through. There's a lot of divisional games that intrigue me. But for fantasy, I think the game that I'm most interested in is the Raiders and the Chargers. And notice how I tried real hard not to say San Diego and so. But for this game, because we're going to find out pretty early on about how the Raiders are going to run their offense. I was pretty big on Josh Jacobs coming into for the most of the preseason, and now it looks like they're going to maybe running some committee backs over there. And so, does he take a gigantic hit fantasy wise? And also, I'm looking at who's going to be right. Is it going to be me or Dan when it comes to Hunter Renfrow? I'm big on Hunter Renfrow. I think that he's going to get a lot of open looks because they've got Davante Adams over there. And I think that, of course, the quarterback and Davante Adams, they have a big history together. But I think that Carr's smart enough not to throw into, to tight spaces and double coverage and things like that. So he's going to go to Hunter Renfrow. He also is very comfortable with him. And so I'm interested to see how all that's going to work out. And then on the Chargers side of things, is Mike Williams, is he going to make a breakout? Who's the better wide receiver right there? I think Mike Williams, as far as, value is concerned, beats out his teammate because you could get Mike Williams later on in the draft. Mm-hmm. And so I'm really interested to see how all the Chargers, work out their offense. They're still going to be throwing a lot. And so Hunter Renfrow, to me, is a player that I'm keeping my eyes on. Josh Jacobs is a player I'm keeping my eyes on to see how all this was going to work out in the fantasy realm.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs is an interesting one because he's someone that the industry as a whole has seemed to be down on for the most of the offseason. He slid down ADP.
Kind of took a tick up here lately, though.
Yeah. So lately, so that's why I think this could be an interesting situation because I think for me, the thing I want to see with Josh Jacobs is he once again this year more involved in the passing game like he was surprisingly last year. Because if he is, then his value is a lot higher than what he was going for in drafts, for me at least. I do agree that Zamir White is going to be playing a role in this offense. It does seem like it's going to be committee, but we've seen that with the Raiders in the past with Josh Jacobs and other backs. So
with their head coach Josh McDaniels, we've seen that in the past.
Exactly. So the running back situation is very curious to me. I think we know what Carr is. We know what Davante Adams is. We're going to see what they are together, but I don't think there's a lot of question there. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. We'll go to Mike first. Mike, do you feel the same? Is this a game that is?
I wrote about this in Moneymakers and Heartbreakers. I talked about this on my podcast. This is my favorite game to do a double stack with Renfrow and Adams, and then run it back with either Williams or Keenan Allen on the other side. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's going to be a shootout. I have Carr as a top 10 quarterback for the season, and other people think I'm nuts, but we've seen McDaniel's offense, right? And bringing up Hunter Renfrow, being a Patriots fan for so long and seeing this offense that the Raiders are getting, the slot guy plays a big role in that, right? Mm-hmm. Like a very big role in that. So Renfrow should see 100 and something targets just like he did last year. So I like that. Josh Jacobs is somebody where he was sliding. He's still going to be a high-end running back too, more than likely for the season. They don't want to pay him. It sounds like he might not be back next year. So be it. I mean, he's not getting any younger either, but he's the best they got. They're going to use him. They keep talking about Amir Abdullah. Everybody's kind of high on Amir Abdullah, thinking he'll be in the James White role. I'm pretty much show me first because
It's been a while.
Just show me.
Yeah, a lot of people spent a lot of fab on him this past week.
Amir Abdullah was really good.
Right?
He was really good playing in Nebraska, but let's see the league first.
Questionable at best playing in Nebraska at the current state.
I typically spend $0 on free agents before the season starts. I drafted my team for a reason. Unless a massive injury happens, I'm not going to go out there and spend a quarter of my fab just because there's a storyline that says Amir Abdullah might be something. Not doing it, so.
Neither will I.
And now, Chase, I'm curious to get your opinion on Waller here because he just got paid. Seems like he's healthy, and he's going to play a role in this offense. Does the fact that he's now paid and happy? It sounds silly that might have fantasy relevance, but do you think that is now going to make him be out there and kind of all in on this team?
I don't think it sounds silly because it's a realization that you have to come to in today's game that that matters to dudes and it should. There's been a lot of scuttlebutt in Baltimore about Jackson's situation and that I think that it's maybe a little overblown, but he's got his money now. He can relax. He can just play football. He can be all in. They acquiesced. They gave him what he wanted essentially or ostensibly. But Darren Waller, he's healthy-ish, supposedly, we guess. I'm not as big on him as some other people have. I don't know that with the combination of, his nagging injury concerns and now Adams coming in and having to compete with both Adams and Renfrow and a running game called by Josh McDaniels, I'm not so sure that Waller is going to necessarily be a top 3 type option like we've seen him be in the past. I would like to step back. I would like to wait. I would like to see it happen again on this team before I buy too much of him. I don't have a ton of shares of Waller. In fact, across 16, 17 leagues, I don't know that I have a single share of Waller yet.
16, I don't either.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
I was Dynasty ask or that question if any of you drafted him anywhere. I did not.
Dynasty or redraft. I don't think I have a single.
I do not have him in any league.
No.
So here was the thing with Waller and where he was going in drafts. He was kind of in that tight end no man's land where you were going to look silly if you took him as early as you could have because he just
as early as you had to.
Well, yeah, because
right.
the question
You had to
marks
spend an early draft pick to get Waller, and I wasn't going to do that.
For me, he was on that cliff where I said, I'm not going to take the risk with him when I believe in a guy like Gerald Everett who's going undrafted as being a tight end 1 this year.
That's right. And that's another guy we could talk about in fantasy, Gerald Everett. So I think I will
wait and see on him as well, boys. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. The tight end's position as a whole is pretty much a wait and see because there's always someone who's going to surprise. I'm putting my money on Everett this year. Then that's just where I've been. But look, we gotta take a quick break here. We gotta get to our lovely sponsors, and as always, Manscaped is still here with us. They're gonna join us for another season. So we have a brand new ad to show you with them. So we will be right back to break down some more games for you after this break.
Football is back, baby. We're back to seeing Mahomes sling beautiful balls all over the field, and your friends at Manscaped are here to help you sling your beautiful balls all season long. With Manscaped's state-of-the-art tech, we'll have your weapon looking more loaded than the AFC West. Football may be rough, but your ball care doesn't have to be with Manscaped. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. Meet the best valued bundle yet for the Manscaped Pocket Rockets, the Platinum Package. At quarterback, the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, a wily vet who makes sure the unit is running smoothly and scoring nonstop with proprietary advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower limits mistakes and protects the ball. Plus, it's waterproof, so the weather conditions are no issue. At running back, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, built to bust through all the right holes. A hairless nostril just helps it keep a nose for the end zone. On the offensive line, we have our unsung heroes, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and the Crop Reviver Ball Toner, the Trent Williams and Corey Lindsley of Sack Protection, standing strong to keep your boys fresh and clean through all 4 quarters. At wideout, the cleanest duo in the league, the Ultra Premium Body Wash and Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo plus Conditioner. With their rugged scent, they attract both the ball and all the ladies in the crowd. Plus, these two leave your skin and scalp feeling more hydrated. That means more plays on the field and less water breaks. At tight end, the product makes your end look tight. Manscaped's anti-chafing boxer briefs, a dedicated jewel pouch to increase ball handling, and a cool, steady vibe thanks to their moisture-wicking fabric. On defense, there's only one thing you need: the aluminum-free ultra-premium deodorant. With refined cologne, quality fragrance, it keeps sweat and locker room scents from making any ground. Plus, it dries clear, so the opponent won't even know what hit them. To top it all off, we throw in the best coach in the league, the Shred Travel Bag, as a free bonus. Built to hold the team together, this travel-sized bag has a fumble-resistant zipper. This has got to be a Super Bowl winning roster, but don't take my word for it. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BellyUpFantasy. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com when you use the promo code BellyUpFantasy. Manscaped, for turning your player into an MVP.
Whoa, Dan's voice must be tired after that one. Sheesh.
Daniel brings on the power, man. That's all you can say about that.
That one caught me off guard because we've been playing Manscaped ads for obviously a long time now. They are one of our longest sponsors, so we are very much appreciative of Manscaped and love the product. But yeah, that must have been one of their longer ones. So they obviously have some good stuff to say for you. So make sure you check that out, Manscaped, and use the Belly Up promo code. But let's get back into it. We want to tackle a few more games, and I'm thinking after our next commercial break, maybe we tackle some start-sit questions from online. We'll kind of see how it goes. But Mike, this is your chance. So you've already alluded to, obviously, the Raiders and the Chargers was a game that you were targeting originally, but Kevin stole your thunder on that one, all puns intended, for the Chargers. What is another game that you would feel confident going to just from a standpoint of you think there's going to be points and it's a safety kind of game for your fantasy players?
Well, the highest over-under of the week is the Chiefs game. So I'd be more than comfortable in DFS, especially stacking up there as well, right? You got the Chiefs, and oh my God, my brain.
Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm naming players in my head, and I'm not naming the team because I was ready to say like Kyler Murray.
It's okay.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot of new players and new places for this game. So.
Well, I have some DFS lineups where I'm running some Cardinals and Chiefs run backs, right, with Juju on one side and Marcus
100%.
Brown on the other. And with all the guys out and or dinged up for the Cardinals, Hollywood Brown looks like a great play this week. I really wasn't in on Juju at the beginning of the preseason because he plays a different position than Tyreek Hill does in that offense for the Chiefs, but he appears to be the primary red zone target. And, I like touchdowns, right? So
touchdowns are good, yeah.
And that's a 53.5 over under. Like literally, it's the highest over under of the week. So I think you're going to see some scoring there. Let's face it, we can't trust the running backs on the Chiefs team at all, right? They'll spread the ball out. And I have James Conner going a lot, by the way, as well for the Cardinals. So I like Conner, Hollywood. I like Juju. I've even thrown Hardman in a lineup because he was the direct backup to Tyreek Hill, right? So I think he might surprise people. But he's probably going to be like, boom busty kind of guy. But I like that game to plug in guys either singularly into lineups or a couple of guys going one way and run back with another on the other team.
Yeah, from the DFS angle, I agree. I've been playing a lot of Marquise Brown. I have a lot of exposure to Brown and Juju specifically. The other guy I have a lot of exposure to because he's so cheap, and I think he's going to play a role that should easily pay off his price this week, is Trey McBride. With Ertz banged up, it looks like Ertz is going to play, but I highly doubt with that calf injury, after talking to Brian Scott from the Injured Podcast about it, I don't trust that he's going to be necessarily 100% out there. And I think it's going to be a good opportunity with the other guys that are banged up and out of the lineup for McBride to step in a little bit. I'm not saying he's going to go crazy and be, a top 5 10 for the week, but at 2,900 on DraftKings, it's not going to take much for him to pay off that value.
Not at all. Not at all. And I liked Ertz, by the way, going into the week before they reported that he was hurt.
Me too.
Great, right? For the Cardinals since he got there, he's just been great. Yeah. So I really liked him. I was kind of disappointed when he got hurt because I had him set up. I had to remove him from lineups. So
so that's definitely. And I think you made a good point on Hardman because I do think he's going overlooked. It seems like a lot of people are, at least from a DFS standpoint and some redrafts as of, right to the last minute of the season here, they were going more so on the MVS train, which I was never on board of. I was letting that train pass through the station.
Can we please?
But Hardman is an interesting point. Now, as long as you are aware that he's going to be boom and bust, because you're 100% right there. That's what he always was.
Has been.
He always was that, but so is MVS. The difference is that Hardman has a rapport and a history with Mahomes already. He's playing the same position he's always played in that offense. If I was going to take a chance on someone other than Juju or Kelsey in that passing game, Hardman would be the guy.
In redraft, Hardman was free, literally.
Exactly.
Like you could get him in the very last round, it's the very last pick.
You probably could still get him right now.
So if he sucks, who cares? You just cut him and add somebody else. If he's great, or he looks like he's going to be even almost consistent, you can keep him. It's win-win.
So here's an interesting boom or bust question for you, because I view both of these guys as boom or bust each week. Would you rather have McCole Hardman or Nelson Aguilar?
I'd rather have Hardman.
Agreed. Yeah. No,
Why
I agree.
Would you do that to me?
So now I'm only comparing them because I think they're going to play a similar role in their offenses, and obviously the KC offense is more explosive and more high-powered. But there could be an argument made for Aguilar that he's going to see more boom and bust opportunities because of their lack of solidified weapons. But I'm still on the Hardman trade on that because of what we've seen from him in the past.
I'm in Green Bay where I've got enough wide receiver headache. I don't want to have to choose between Nelson Aguilar and Nicole Hardman.
And you shouldn't. You should not have them both on your team. If you have them both on your team, you might be.
No. God, no.
That's the zero wide receiver strategy. You have Aguilar and Hardman.
Literally. I'm angry at you for just bringing that up.
But I do agree. This is going to be a game that I think is going to be high scoring as well.
I like Kyler Murray is my quarterback in redraft, so I'm all in on him this week.
Yeah, you kind of have to be, right?
Right, absolutely.
But it's good. I think this is a fantastic spot for all players involved.
You might want to go to your fantasy and check it because Hardman not available in my league at all. So that's not a consideration.
Most of my leagues too, but at the very end.
Yeah.
Somebody drank the Kool-Aid. All right.
Yep, wasn't me, but somebody did it.
Wasn't me either.
I'm not running out to make that check in my leagues anyway. So I'm just not a McCole Hardman fan. I have not been. He's one of those guys that it seems like year after year everybody's like, oh, this is the year. This is the year.
But almost nobody's saying that this year. So you know what that means, right? It would actually be the time it happened.
If they hadn't just brought in the other McCole Hardman that I've watched for several years now up here in Wisconsin in MVS, they've got two of the same guy on the roster. So now they were both a roll of the dice before, but now you only get to roll one dice and you have to beat two. I'm staying away from both of them. But I agree with Andrew. Juju Smith-Schuster is a giant play this year. He's going to be a good pull this year.
You got him cheap in
drafts. You got to get him,
and you can get him.
If you drafted him, you got to feel pretty good about that.
We've seen him be that top guy before in an offense that was not as high powered as this one can be.
Right, and he's got Mahomes,
and so I absolutely love him this year. Yep.
Well, he's been playing the past 2 years with a guy who was like throwing with the wrong arm while it was falling off.
Exactly.
Right. So I mean, he's got a quarterback. I know Steelers fans don't want to hear, but Roethlisberger was
he was done.
really bad the past 2 years.
Yeah, he definitely needed to say goodbye.
He was a professional quarterback because he had a contract. Not because he was actually of that caliber anymore arm wise. He just wasn't. Great leader still. Good at football, smart individual, but he did not have an NFL arm for several years.
Yeah, agreed. So that's. Are there any last before we move on? Are there any last points on Chiefs Cardinals this week? Because I do agree. I think this is going to be another air show.
There's going to be points on both those offenses. Get a piece if you can.
I have one question for you guys. Right? Yeah. What do you think is going to happen with Kelsey? Or Kels, I think I pronounced his name wrong. Right?
I think that he's got at least he's going to be Kelsey this year.
Yeah,
and if you got him
the same way,
that's all you're concerned about right now.
He's going to be a top 3 tight end, anyways, right?
Yep.
Right, absolutely. And I still wouldn't have taken him in the second round if that's where he had to have used it.
I think Mark Andrews has ascended to that level.
Mark Andrews is the top tight end in football, and he's definitely taken over from Kelsey.
Kelsey, especially with what all the wide receiver questions we just talked about, and even if Juju does come in and is a top guy, he's already had a top guy, and he wants that top guy next to him to draw coverage away. So
he needs the safeties to be taken
exactly.
away.
Put the safeties over on that guy so that Travis can run all over.
Which will be interesting because Juju's not necessarily a take the safeties off the top kind of guy like Hill could be. So that will be interesting how the defense is reacting.
Other guys still are. Hardman and MVS. That's the one thing that they can do for you is just run as far and as fast as they can and take everybody away from what you actually want to do.
Agreed. Before we get to Chase's favorite game to target this week, we do have a question here from, it looks like it's probably from Mike over at Belly Up Sports. He wants to know, for the flex position in the PPR, what do you guys think, Michael Thomas or Breece Hall? I'll give my answer right away. I'm going to go Michael Thomas here. I am a believer in Michael Thomas.
You got to go that way.
And I'm a believer in the reports
against Atlanta. I'm all in on that.
Exactly.
That's what would make me choose it too. And I actually really like Winston, by the way.
Yes,
I've got shares of Winston in my dynasty league, so good to go.
And I trust the Ravens defense to still be the Ravens defense.
Absolutely, Breece Hall versus Ravens defense is not does not equal success. Not in week one. I don't.
Well, and we still have to see how the Jets are going to use their combination of Michael Carter, Breece Hall. I think we all understand. We all acknowledge, and I'm sure they do too, Breece Hall is the better back of the two. But are they going to do Breece Hall more of a 1 and 2 down role and then bring in Carter and have him? We don't know yet. And like you said, against a defense like the Ravens, do I really want to rely on that? Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, Michael Thomas hasn't played since before some of my kids were born. But if he's healthy and if he's into it, I agree with Michael that I like Jameis Winston. I like Michael Thomas in this. I don't know if you guys were on your Twitter overnight at 3 a.m. like I was. Don't ask me why. But Thomas looks like he's healthy. Looks like he's going to play today. Yeah. He's expected to be in there, and if he's in there, I like how he matches up with Jameis Winston and just tossing that thing for all it's worth. Let's go up and get it and bring some down. So I would take Thomas for this week. I would take Thomas over Breece Hall.
Yeah, I agree.
According to this, just before we came on live, it says that Thomas is slated to play.
Yep. He was expected to play. Drake London was expected to play. Chris Godwin
and I just got an alert that they just removed the questionable tag as you said that, Kevin. So he's
okay.
A full
there you go. So he's playing, and if there's any chance that Michael Thomas can be the Michael Thomas of old, you got to do it.
Well, here's the other thing. The other thing to consider too is when it comes to the Jets is it is Joe Flacco a quarterback. It's not Zach Wilson.
Joe Flacco.
Flacco's got a noodle arm now.
That plane's not taking off from the runway until they get Wilson back.
I think they're going to be playing a bit safe. They might even try to protect Breece Hall a little bit here early on, to where I think there's going to be a lot of dump offs to Carter, so where it's going to be more that style of offense than necessarily the ground and pound that would benefit Breece Hall. I know Breece Hall can catch the ball, but I think his role in this offense will be, like you said, Chase, a 1-2 down, early down back. And
at least early in the year, it might be.
Yeah, but I'm not sure the Jets are going to be, at least this week and probably for the next couple weeks here earlier on in the season, I don't think they're going to be in the situation to where they're going to be able to play that style of offense. So, I would definitely say Michael Thomas over Breece Hall here. That's if that's you, I'm pretty sure that's you. I hope you were listening still. But anyways, Chase, let's get to your game of the week that you're targeting before we get to our next break, and then maybe we can answer some more start sits after that. We'll see how it goes.
It's easy to look at a game and be like, oh, there's a ton of points scored there. Well, we had the Rams and the Bills play, right? We have the Chiefs and the Cardinals play. A game that I'm not necessarily targeting, but a game that I'm very interested in and will be watching closely, as awkward as it might sound at first, I'm actually watching this Panthers-Browns game because I want to see what is going to happen with each of these teams. Now, Jacoby Brissette is not Deshaun Watson at peak Deshaun Watson, but we don't know that necessarily Deshaun Watson is peak Deshaun Watson right now either, even if he was in there. He hasn't played since, like I said before, some of my kids were born either. But Jacoby Brissette, if you cannot do a whole lot better in this league for backup quarterback purposes than Jacoby Brissette, a guy who has been a starter for multiple years, a guy who was drafted in New England, was a backup to Tom Brady, who they were comfortable enough with him that they didn't need Garoppolo anymore. This is a guy that has done the job before. And no, he's not a superstar, and no, he's not the athlete that Deshaun Watson is. But I don't think they have to appreciably change what their offensive identity was going to be with Watson anyway to put Brissette in. They are a running team. Even with Deshaun Watson, they were going to be a running team. They still have Nick Chubb. They still have Kareem Hunt. They still have Dearness Johnson. Heck, they still have Demetric Felton. They have a good, deep backfield. They are going to run the ball. What I want to see is, can they still operate that entire offense and keep it on schedule with Brissette as their quarterback? They're not facing an overly great defense. It's not a bad defense, but they're not facing a great defense this week in Carolina. I don't think Carolina is going to run away with the game offensively, where it's going to push Cleveland out of their game script either. So I am really interested to see how the Browns run that offense, how Brissette affects everybody in that offense. I think Njoku still has some value in there. Mm-hmm. I think he's still going to see targets. Amari Cooper is a good enough wide receiver, and he's their definite number one. I think he's still going to see some targets. I don't think he's going to be Amari Cooper with Dallas yet. Not this season, but he's still going to have some value, and I want to see how much. And I want to see if they take those shots over the top to Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a kid that really has some ability and some talent in this league that could go somewhere if they use him the right way. On the other side of the field, I want to see how can Baker and Christian McCaffrey coexist. Now, Baker does not have the same offensive line he had in Cleveland. But if they can roll him out a little bit, if they can get the ball now underneath to Christian McCaffrey, if they can give him enough time to get the ball to DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, if they use him this week, Laviska Shenault, they actually have some weapons. Terrace Marshall, they have some weapons on that team for him.
Don't forget Robbie Anderson.
Give him enough time.
Yes, don't forget Robbie Anderson.
That's what I said.
Sneaky good play to me.
And those guys can run the deep pattern. And if there's one thing that Baker Mayfield does do well, if he can throw it, if he's got enough time, Baker can throw the ball downfield. This could be a sneaky, fun offense to watch. So I am really interested to see this game play out. He's playing a good defense in the Browns, a defense that knows him. But if the Panthers can give Baker some time, I'm really excited to see where things can go for this offense here in Carolina. I think it's going to be a very interesting game from a fantasy standpoint. It could be high scoring, it could be low scoring, but I don't think game script is going to get away from either team to where it's going to push them out of what they want to do. And so that means we get to see how they want to run their offenses.
Now, I might be a little biased to agree with you that this is a game I'm watching because I've been beating the drum for Baker Mayfield the majority of the offseason on this show and on other shows, to where I don't think Baker Mayfield's done. I think the weapons he has in Carolina is actually a perfect fit for him, the way they run that offense and their skill set.
Start DJ Moore. Start him.
So I'm there for Baker Mayfield. I'm there for Carolina. I think this is going to work out for them, and I just want to see if I was right.
And I'm all in on Carolina, and I got a stat for you guys.
Hit us.
Since Cleveland Browns have returned to the NFL, they've played 23 openers. Do you know how many times they won on opening day?
Oh, gosh.
You know?
Probably none.
Once.
Just once?
They're 121-1.
And in those 23 games, they've had 37 and a half different quarterbacks start for them.
Right. And so when you talk about, there's a lot of things that Cleveland can be indicted about, how their quarterbacks and their coaches and everything else we can come up with. There's your number one reason why they have been terrible as a franchise. They can't win an opener. Okay, and they haven't won
always starting behind the eight ball.
Right, and they haven't won in their history. They haven't won on the road since 1994.
Yikes!
On opening
on the road.
Clarify that.
You know what,
Browns
Kevin?
fan. I know occasionally they win.
Kevin,
So there
I'm
you go.
so glad. I'm so glad you
Carolina,
took the time.
all in. I'm all in on DJ Moore. I like him. I think Baker Mayfield's going to be throwing deep to him. I like him as a starter in this game big time.
100%. And I'm happy you took the time to do the painstaking task of looking up
Well,
Cleveland
it
Browns
showed up
stats.
in the Dallas Morning News, so I'm not going to take a whole lot of credit for it.
Well, there we go. Well, like I said, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to hear from our other sponsor here, True Classic Tees. So take a listen here because they have some amazingly comfortable tees at good prices, high quality. So we'll be right back after this break, and I think we're going to switch over to answering some of your start-sit questions.
Football is back, baby, and our new sponsor, True Classic, wants you to look and feel your best even after a couple of brewskis or going full force on your fantasy football draft. Sure, it's football season, but it's also butt to couch season. Luckily, True Classic has the absolute best fitting clothing a man can buy. Snug in the arms and chest with a little extra space in the torso, their t-shirts are designed to keep you cozy and highlight your best assets no matter what you're up to. So if your special someone is upset that you're watching football all day, at least you can look good doing it. True Classic has already helped over 2 million men find the perfect fit at an affordable price. Our listeners get access to the best deal they offer. For a limited time only, get 25% off with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY at TrueClassic.com. Almost all men's t-shirts are designed to look good on skinny models with six-packs, but most of us aren't packing anything but a few beers. Fellas, you are wearing the wrong clothes. True Classic tees taper off towards the bottom, but they fit tighter around the chest and shoulders. It's time to highlight your best attributes with a t-shirt you can always confidently throw on. It's about time to get your fit together, so upgrade your wardrobe with True Classic and get 25% off at TrueClassic.com with promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. Free shipping included on purchases over $100. That's 25% off at TrueClassic.com with the promo code BELLYUPFANTASY. If there's one bet you should make this football season, it's on True Classic. True Classic, look good, feel good.
And we just received some breaking news here from Chase in the chat here. So no surprise for me, at least. I don't know how you guys feel, but no surprise here. J.K. Dobbins is going to be inactive. That's the way I've been feeling all week since I wrote the waiting room article about some injuries this week. I know some people were holding out hope. J.K. Dobbins isn't active. That is a backfield I am completely staying away from this week. I think Lamar Jackson is your best bet to be both the rushing leader and rushing touchdown leader in that game for the Ravens today. So no Mike Davis. Sorry, what was that?
Also, I just saw come across that Kittle is out.
Kittle is
today
out, okay.
Versus the Bears. So
seemed like that was going to be the probability as well. So
I wasn't all that excited about him anyway.
Get him on your bench.
Excited about Trey Lance
immediately.
Yeah. So Kittle out, J.K. Dobbins out. Like I said, I'm not buying into Kenyon Drake or Mike Davis in the rate for the Ravens this week. If J.K. Dobbins continues to stay out, which I do believe he is going to.
If you're forced into it, Mike Davis is probably the guy to have right now in that
for one week probably.
If you were counting on Dobbins, if you had Davis,
if you're forced into it, I'd like to see your fantasy roster if you're forced into a move like that.
Season long, I still like J.K. Dobbins. Season long, I like Dobbins to take hold of that backfield and to be the guy in that backfield. Now, I know that Jackson is still there, but you're talking about one of the top rushing teams in all of football. There are carries to go around, and I think that the carries are going to go to J.K. Dobbins. Jackson's still going to get his, which is great, which is why I have him as my number 3 quarterback. But season long, I still like J.K. Dobbins if you can get him. And now that he's out this week, maybe you can get somebody on a panic sell. Grab him.
Yeah, and a couple other slightly less impactful inactives, but still have an impact. Pierre Strong inactive for the Patriots today. As far as I know, unrelated to an injury. I think that's just a healthy scratch as far as I know. So it does seem like, to Mike's point earlier, that this is going to be a healthy Harrison Stevenson probably split,
Yep.
I'd say, but maybe to Mike's point, maybe it is mainly Harris. But I think, like we said, we'll wait to see. But it does seem like it's at least going to be between the two of them, and then Tyler Algier as well inactive.
Damian Williams was getting way overlooked, I think, in preseason.
I agree.
Tyler Algier is a good running back, and you know what? By the end of the year, he may have that job. Cordero Patterson is not going to be their 25 carry a game running back. First off, their game scripts probably aren't going to allow for that anyway. But secondly, I like Cordero Patterson, but I like Cordero Patterson as that jackknife that they used him as last year. Damian Williams is somebody who we've seen come in the past when he's had his opportunities and be a usable fantasy piece.
Agreed.
And I think he's a usable fantasy piece still, as long as he's in the role that he's in. By the end of the season, Algier may take that spot. But for now, Williams is usable.
If they give Williams the ball, Williams is very usable.
Yes.
Right? He's one of those guys I like. I've added him many times off the waiver wire to teams and watch people in leagues, what are you doing? Oh, you'll see.
Yeah, just wait. You'll see.
Not sexy, but you'll see. It doesn't have to be sexy.
Give it a minute.
Well, and this is a perfect transition into what we were just talking about with Mike Davis and the Ravens. Remember, Cordero Patterson only had the usage he had with Atlanta, and they carved out that role with him in Atlanta last year is because Mike Davis disappointed. Mike Davis was supposed to be the guy that took over there, and he did not step up to the plate. I'm not sitting here saying Mike Davis is trash, but let's just remember before we see that J.K. Dobbins is out and everyone jumps on the Mike Davis train confidently, just stop. Think for a second and remember there's better options.
This is when Mike Davis is good. This is his role. He is not a 16, 17 game a year starting running back in this league, but he is a very good backup coming in for a game, a 2-6 at a stretch like he had to in Carolina. They put him into a role that he's not suited for in Atlanta. First off, they weren't that good a team. Secondly, he's not supposed to be your 16, 17 game a year running back, but he is very good at the same thing that we just talked about with Damian Williams. He's very good at being that backup, coming in and having some great value for a couple weeks at a stretch. I still like Davis today, but I think Damian Williams was overlooked because I think everybody thought, well, it's going to be Cordero Patterson, and then they'll just automatically give it to Algier.
Well, here's the other thing that gives me pause on Davis just in general for his career as well, is I think the reason why he did have those short spurt successes stepping in for McCaffrey in Carolina was because he played the role different than McCaffrey. So I think teams were prepared for the McCaffrey type of running back, and as the season went on, they were ready for that. Mike Davis played that role different, and I think
everybody plays that for them.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But in this situation,
necessity.
The point I'm trying to get to for the Ravens saying this situation is that I think it's been known that J.K. Dobbins most likely wasn't starting. It's also been known that Gus Edwards, the number 2 back, was on the PUP list and was also not going to be starting. I think the Jets will have had time to prepare for the fact that it's going to be more traditional Mike Davis style of running back coming out of that backfield today. And if anything, once again, the guy that might be able to get a little bit of edge, if anybody, might be Kenyon Drake, even though I don't think they're going to use him enough for him to be relevant this week.
Mike Davis only averages about 3.7 yards per attempt for his career, so he's not a starting running back.
Exactly.
You're right.
I 100% agree.
You're right there.
100% agree. But so let's get into some start-sit questions here, because I do want to get to one point that comes up every year, because for super flex leagues, the question is always asked between a quarterback and a position player. Who should I start? Typically, the safe bet is always the quarterback because they have a safer floor, a higher floor, even if sometimes their ceilings are a bit limited. So one of the questions I see here on Twitter is between Matt Ryan and Marquise Brown for the Superflex spot. I think a fantastic problem to have. I'm big on Marquise Brown today, as I've stated, but I am still going to say Matt Ryan here, but not because I just think it's the safe option. I think Matt Ryan has himself a day today as well for the Colts. Michael Pittman at 5,100 on DK has been
him in your lineup for crying out loud. Michael Pittman.
I am so far overexposed to Michael Pittman today. It's like I might as well bet my house on him. So I think Matt Ryan has himself a day today. So yes, I would play him over Marquise Brown in a super flex because I also think his floor is similar to Marquise Brown, but I think his ceiling is also similar to Marquise Brown today, where he could even go higher.
Unless you've got some weird quarterback settings, or if you've got or 1.5 per PPR, something weird like that. If you've got some weird settings, then it's probably a little more. But otherwise, if you've got normal settings, I like the quarterback in most cases in a super flex, and especially if it's a guy like Matt Ryan. If you've got Matt Ryan as your number 2 quarterback in a super flex, you're sitting pretty.
Yeah.
So my question is,
especially
if
against the Texans, especially, exactly, Mike.
So my question is if you're thinking about putting Brown in at your super flex spot, who in the world do you already have as your starting wide receivers?
Fantastic.
He needs to be in your starting wide receiver slot. And so that solves that whole problem right there. Whoever you need to find out who you're going to get rid of out of your starting wide receiver slot, put Brown in there. Put Ryan in there,
hit the trade bait.
For the sake of all of our sanity, I am going to ask the question. We will see if we get a response within the last 5 minutes of the show. If we do, I will let you know, and we will discuss it further.
I ask that kind of question all the time when people are asking me questions like this. Like,
yes,
okay, who are you starting over these 2 guys? And then you'll find out, well, I'm starting Mecole Hardman. No. I said I liked him on the show, and I'm telling you, no, don't do that. What are you
not
doing?
over Marquise
Ryan and Brown.
You know, like, what are you doing?
Yeah. And so another one here that I'm surprised I've seen a lot of this one, but I guess it kind of makes sense for the fact that they were both either going late drafted or undrafted. But at tight end position, I'm seeing some questions here about Gerald Everett versus Robert Tanyan. And I think it's an interesting situation because with Robert Tanyan for the Packers, he's obviously, with what's going on in that receiving core right now for Aaron Rodgers, he's one of the few guys you can say has the trust of Rodgers. Between him and Randall Cobb, he's got the trust. Now, Randall Cobb, I'm not really going to put my money on him to show up and show out, considering the young, explosive talent they do have in both Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs.
Randall Cobb had 2 touchdowns last year when Adams and everybody else had to miss. When he was the option, he was the option.
But they had let's look at it this way, right? Passing tree. How many branches are on the passing tree for the Chargers?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You've got 3 really good wide receivers if you want to include Palmer. And you've got Eckler. Okay. And how many branches are really on the passing tree for Green Bay? You have the worst wide receiver room in the league. Mm-hmm. We expect the 2 running backs to probably dominate targets. My only thing with Tanyan was he was hurt for most of the preseason. Yeah. I love him this year for the season as a whole because I think he's going to be a primary red zone target without Devontae Adams.
His big year 2 years ago, though, was very touchdown dependent, was very, very, very efficient. He caught something like, I think he only had 52 catches on the whole year, and 5 touchdowns or something like that. Double check me on that, but
he might have had more touchdowns than that. But yes,
he's not going to catch a touchdown every 10 passes,
right? Like he did a couple years ago.
It's just not going to happen. I don't think.
My point is, Andrew, I don't know if I like him this week. No, I like him later when I know he's healthy. I don't know if I like him this week.
He does have the trust. I like Josiah DeGuara on this, and as a Packer fan, somebody sees it. I like Josiah DeGuara as an all-around guy, as a receiving tight end. If they play him, if Tanyan is not healthy. But Mercedes Lewis, as far as he's one of the best blocking tight ends in the game. Yes, he's older than Kevin and myself, but the thing about it is that Mercedes Lewis gets looks. He also gets looks in the red zone. He doesn't catch many passes anymore, but he gets those looks in the end zone, and he's a big body. He's a smart player. He knows what to do. I've been lower on Tanyan than I might otherwise be, just because we know that Rodgers doesn't have a giant history of going to his tight end often enough. And we know that his one big year 2 years ago when he wasn't hurt was so touchdown dependent and so efficient. The efficiency is that's something that cannot hold long term. So.
Well, that brings up so the last question I do want to ask you guys before we give Mike a chance to plug himself and we move on to get ready for these games is that so from a DFS angle, I'm not going to lie, because I'm playing multiple lineups, I have a couple different stack options because I don't know how I think there's going to be points in this game. I do agree that I think Rodgers is probably going to be looking at Aaron Jones a lot in the passing game. I do think Tanyan will be and Cobb will both be active in the passing game because of this trust. But I did a bunch of different stack options between Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Sammy Watkins. It is so like Sammy Watkins to show up this week for 2 touchdowns and then disappear.
25 points this week and 22
and in
the
this
rest of the season.
But in this situation, doesn't it just feel like there is such a chance that happens this week because Rodgers knows he's a vet. He can run the routes I need him to route. He may not have played him before and have the trust, but he knows what he's doing out there where he might not have that faith in Watson.
And Rodgers has had good things to say about Watkins this preseason.
Yep.
He has.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Lazard is out for this game because if he was playing,
out of those 16,
I would be all in on
leagues I
Lazard
told you guys I have.
playing this game. So
I'll bet I have him in about 12, 13 leagues.
yeah,
I
so
took a ton of
necessarily,
Lazard.
if I'm in on Lazard, then I think I have to be on Watkins, at least for this week.
What I'm trying to get is that if you play the stack right, I think there is the Green Bay stack this week. If you want to talk about a stack, might be the cheapest, most valuable stack because if you did a Rodgers, Jones, and then one of those receivers, or even a Rodgers, one of those receivers in Tanyan, like I think there's for what all those guys are priced at, you can get them cheap, and I think the value could pay off.
And that's going to be a shootout.
The most Sammy Watkinist thing there is in the world is 4 touchdowns today, never to be heard from again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like
all his career Green Bay touchdowns will be this week, maybe next week, and that'll be it. Just like he's been the other 4 teams he's been. Yep. That would be a Sammy thing to do.
100%. Well, look, that's going to do it for us. That's going to be our time here. But, hey, football starts in an hour.
That's right. So strap in. Get ready.
Make sure to tune into all the Belly Up accounts, Belly Up Fantasy, Belly Up Sports. Tune into all of our creators, including me, Kevin, Chase, ourselves here. But, Mike, where can the people find you for up-to-date content either today and throughout the week for each week leading up to the football season?
At Mike Reedy FF on Twitter. I write for the Undroppables, as I know you know, Andrew, right? I write a waiver wire article, Untangling the Wire. Yes, I'm a little biased, but it's probably the best waiver wire article out there. Unless you guys write one.
I'm about to disagree with you here.
It definitely has the best name, Mike. I will give it that for sure.
I've read Kevin's work. You're probably right.
and I'm known for Moneymakers and Heartbreakers.
Yes,
my DFS / like sit start type article. I also have a podcast called The Cheat Sheet. It's strictly DFS. We go through high, medium, and low price players on that. And then that's like, if you saw, I'm a little DFS biased with who I want to play every week as well. But yeah. So Kevin, maybe we can collaborate on one. I like to do that, by the way.
All right. So as you said that you're the best waiver wire writer there is. Well, I don't know about that because that is exactly what I do for Belly Up. That'll be starting tomorrow. There'll be lots of things to talk about week 1 when it comes to that waiver wire. So Mike, so maybe we could collaborate, see what's going on right there. And but I do want to mention I do have an article. It's already out on the Belly Up Fantasy Sports website.
Yes.
About we all drafted this week, right? So now what? A lot of people just let their teams and they figure out who they want to start or whatever. That's not the end. You need to go on there. You need to set up your watch list. You need to go on there, figure out which players may be hurt that might be usable later on in the season. You may have 2 defenses on your fantasy roster. There's no reason for that. Cut one of them. Do it right now and add yourself another running back. So get over to the fantasy Belly Up Fantasy website. As I said, that article is there right now. And also just to throw out there, because baseball is not leaving the stage, and this is the first week into the baseball fantasy playoffs. And so we have a show tonight, the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show, which, of course, I am the host. And so we got some interesting things to talk about. That comes on 8 Eastern. You definitely want to check that out. And you can always get me on Twitter at Kevin62, WILSEA.
And I
There you
know he'll
have
be talking about the recent rule changes that have been agreed on in
You
baseball.
can
So I'm sure he will be touching on that.
that we be talking about that, and
There's some stuff to like and some stuff not to like.
no, there's some stuff that makes
Save
you
it
want
for
to
the
cry
baseball show,
in,
Chase.
in
Save
that.
it for the
So
baseball.
just a little heads up right there.
Yeah. All right. Well, now I guess if we're probably jumping to me next, you can find me as always, SDT Chase FFB on the Twitter machine. I've got takes on there, and I'll be giving you updates sometimes on fantasy football, sometimes on life. I'll be writing the Thursday night preview. I'm hosting the Wednesday night weekly preview show here for Belly Up Fantasy Live. I'll also be doing a weekly recap article coming out Mondays or Tuesdays, and I'll be also doing a weekly recap on our charity league, the Belly Up.
Nice.
There we go. Which I'm a part of, by the way. Yep.
And
charity.
I am as well. And I
Gotta
will
be
be
in on
letting people
charity.
know how that's going so we can do as much good as we can for Alex's Lemonade Stand, a great charity.
That's right.
there.
That's right.
But I will be,
We're all
updating
in on
people that
Alex's lemonade stand
every
Absolutely.
week as we can go. One more thing real quick before we head off the air here. It is 9/11 today, so I know we've had a lot of fun.
That's
here.
right.
It's a great day.
Thank
It's
you,
right.
Chase.
national holiday, being a fantasy football opening day and regular football opening day, but also with it being 9/11, just take a minute, step back.
That's right. For
reflect on
somebody
what
that
this
was
day
actually
means.
over there, okay, I appreciate what you're saying, Chase.
No, you're very welcome on that. I think that it's important. I've got family members who are military. I've got best friends who are in the military. But it's a day to step back, reflect, think about what this day meant, and think about everybody who lost someone on this day, who has lost someone since because of that day. Just keep that in mind today as we celebrate everything else that's going on in our world today. Why we have that. So.
That's right.
100%. And real fast, as always, you can find me at Real Mr. Mallet. I am Andrew LeDuc. I have a weekly article that just came out this week called The Waiting Room. We are actually going to change the name of that to The Medical Tent because I think it's a little bit more obvious what we're talking about. The Waiting Room, I got feedback
I
on that.
was all in on it, Andrew. I knew what you were talking about.
So I got feedback that there was a little confusion on what the article was going to be about until you read it. Then it became obvious that it was about injuries, where I talked to Brian Scott, host of the Injured podcast, about
it doesn't get much better than talking with Brian Scott.
Well, it was either injuries or dental work, and I was like, well, I got it. I don't know. Maybe my wife's a doctor. I don't know, but...
Maybe I'll
Hopefully you're not talking about the waiting rooms that Deshaun Watson was hanging around in.
maybe I'll put a poll at G's. Maybe I'll put up a poll. We will see. But either way, you can look for either The Waiting Room or The Medical Tent coming out every Friday afternoon for your weekly injury updates. But that is going to do it for us. Thank you for sticking with us around for week one. Thank you for Mike Reedy for joining us this week. I'm sure we will have him on again, and we'll be in touch with Mike because he's a fantastic guest.
Thanks
and
so much, man, for having me, guys. It was
you're very welcome. Very welcome. In less than an hour until kickoff, guys.
That's right.
So get ready.
So, like I said, strap in, man.
Get your drinks.
Where's your pizza? Where's your wings? Make sure you're ready.
Yeah, go cook now so you can sit down and watch some football.
That's right. We know Chase is ready, so
got more
Look at how ready he is.
We will see you guys next Sunday, same place, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook.
Slanjava.
Okay, 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern every Sunday. We're here to take you into kickoff. Have a great week, everyone. We will see you.